I'm going to use pseudonyms for anyone I reference in this post. I, 42, female, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 47, male, whom we'll call James, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids. Max, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Sarah, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for myriad reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son Max has a girlfriend, Janice, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. Max absolutely adores Janice. She's his first love and someone I've always considered family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Janice. I read what looked like a message from her telling him that she misses eating that sausage. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it. Over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of corn and explicit content. He clearly has a corn addiction. He also has saved photos of Janice from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed. It was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. When I first stumbled upon the messages between James and Janice, it felt like a punch to the gut. I sat there, my hands trembling as I held his phone, staring at words that cut deep. It wasn't just the shock of betrayal. It was the nature of their conversation that struck me the hardest. James and Janice made jokes at my expense. Comments about my appearance, personality, and habits that were hurtful and demeaning. I couldn't believe the cruelty in their exchanges. It was as if I were a caricature to them, not a person with feelings. Each message felt like another brick in the wall between the man I thought I knew and the reality of who he had become. Janice, whom I had welcomed into our home as part of the family, was laughing alongside him, compounding the betrayal. Looking at the cheerful family photos on our wall, the contrast between the images of happiness and the reality of his words made me feel like my entire life had been a lie. It became clear that this wasn't just infidelity. It was a complete disregard for the love and respect I thought we shared. I started to notice odd behaviors around the same time Janice turned 18. After piecing things together, I realized that James's inappropriate behavior may have started earlier. He had saved photos of Janice from social media and was often overly friendly toward her, something I previously chalked up to him trying to be a good host. One evening, I found something in our home that didn't belong to me or anyone else in the family. It was clear that he had been engaging in behavior I couldn't ignore. Still, I tried to rationalize it, hoping against hope that there was some innocent explanation. Eventually, I checked his computer and phone for more evidence. What I found left no doubt in my mind about what had been happening. His text messages, though flirty and suggestive, confirmed that something deeper was going on. This wasn't just a lapse in judgment. It was an ongoing situation that had crossed every imaginable boundary. The most heartbreaking part of all this was how it would impact our children, especially Max. He adored Janice, and revealing this truth to him felt impossible. I wanted to protect my son from the pain, but I knew I couldn't hide the truth forever. I also struggled with how to confront James. His behavior showed a lack of remorse, and his anger when I raised the issue was deeply unsettling. He denied everything, even when I presented undeniable evidence. His reaction was defensive and volatile, making me realize that I wasn't just dealing with infidelity. I was dealing with someone who had no regard for the damage he was causing. I reached out to a lawyer and began preparing for the legal steps I would need to take to protect myself and my children. My brother, who has always been my rock, connected me with a lawyer known for being tough and thorough. I started collecting all the evidence I could, knowing that I needed to prepare for the worst. I picked up Max and Sarah from school and took them to my brother's house, where I delicately explained the situation. Max was devastated, and Sarah was furious. Both of them struggled to understand how someone they trusted could betray them so deeply. I also reached out to Janice's mother, who was equally horrified by what was happening. She confiscated Janice's phone and shared the messages with me, which painted a clear picture of the situation. Janice, unfortunately, was still in denial. She insisted that she and James were in love, refusing to see the harm and manipulation involved. James, meanwhile, continued to deny everything. His reactions during a video call were volatile and alarming, and I realized that I needed to take immediate steps to ensure our safety. I filed for custody of the children and a restraining order to keep James away from us. As the legal proceedings began, I focused on ensuring that my children had the support they needed. Max started therapy to process his feelings, and Sarah leaned on her friends for support. Both of them were grappling with the reality of their father's betrayal and how it had affected our family. Janice's situation was heartbreaking. Despite her mother's efforts to keep her away from James, She continued to defend him, convinced that their relationship was genuine. Her mother and I did everything we could to encourage her to seek help, but Janice remained resistant. I'm determined to move forward and rebuild my life. My children and I are working through the pain together, and I'm focusing on creating a stable, loving environment for them. The road ahead won't be easy, but I know that we'll come out stronger on the other side. For now, I'm taking things one day at a time, holding on to the support of my family and friends. I refuse to let James's actions define the rest of my life. Instead, I'm choosing to use this as an opportunity to grow, heal, and build a brighter future for myself and my children.